Hello, y'all. I'm Donnie with a few words about episodes 8, Never Say Xever, and 9, The Gauntlet. I'll mention a few ideas from a reviewer named Mark Rodriguez. Every week he raises a good point or two, so I thought he deserved a mention. Plus, he doesn't make video reviews, which I'm oddly relieved about. You know you watch too many video reviews when your only YouTube recommendations are links to other reviewers. Anyway, I have a lot to say about both of these episodes, so hang tight and enjoy. The best things about both episodes were, can you guess? Intriguing plot, great action, and fun humor. I know I keep mentioning these three elements every time I praise an episode, but in my opinion, these three things are necessities for a great episode. In any case, it's great to see the Turtles' teamwork improve as well, as we see in the action of episode 8 in the noodle shop. So far, whatever comes their way has only made the Turtles stronger. Out of the two eps, 9 is my favorite, hands down. Ventimiglia and Sternin did not disappoint, and I'm definitely looking forward to their next episode. In my opinion, it was really thrilling and exciting how episode 9 started off with April being chased by a pigeon man and ended with the brothers getting their butts handed to them by the Shredder. Admittedly, it was quite the twist and made my brain spin a little, but I'm not gonna say that this is because of disorganized writing. As I said, it made everything really exciting and thrilling, so na to all the people who think that episode 9 was really confusing. I'm not listening to you, at least not to that point. Also, I should mention that the homage to the 2003 and 90s shows was a great touch, as our RPG pointed out. However, there were lots of issues with consistency in both episodes. Both Mark Rodriguez and I felt confused when episode 8 started where episode 4 left off, and everyone pretty much forgot about the Krang and April's dad. Again. It was such a relief, though, when episode 9 featured the Turtles' biggest enemies at the same time. The plot development concerning the Krang was also very satisfying, and April's dad had my respect because he risked himself to get everyone out. It was too bad, though, that, the Turtles went through all the effort of finding him, so it would have been nice if he was able to get out with them, but there's only so much he could have done, and, again, his heroics have my mad respect. Anyway, we have yet to see any ninja training for April, and I'm starting to get impatient. As much as I want April to grow as a character, I want to see her fight alongside the Turtles. And at some point, I want her to save them. Also, I seriously dislike the lack of Japanese in this series. I mean, we all got a hint that Leo can speak the language in the first episode. Why hasn't he been doing so more often? Did Nickelodeon's Japanese-English translator quit or something? For once, I'll start the review off with the villains. Episode 8 focused on Bradford and Xever's rivalry, and it made me confident that, at some point, things would come to a head between them, resulting in one sabotaging the other. However, now that they're mutants, I'm going to scratch that idea. They are even more dependent than ever on the Shredder for protection, and if they displease him by sabotaging one another, they run the risk of dying or being thrown out to the big bad world with nowhere to go. I really appreciated Xever's characterization in episode 8 because we could really see why the Shredder values him as a fighter. Xever is despicable and ruthless. He'll follow his own rules without any sort of consideration for anyone else. Except for Shredder. At the same time. Put those two together. Anyhow, he also helped the turtles realize they couldn't cross the lines he could because they have a little something called morality. In episode 9, I was glad to see the baddies getting a terrible shock by being mutated. However, it's gonna be hard for me to get their human images out of my head because they suited them so well. It, I mean, at the end of episode 9, I was like, what? Bradford is now gonna be a big, furry dog? Are you kidding me? I love dogs. Why is he a dog? It makes sense now, though. I mean, he's so loyal to the Shredder that, being a dog is probably a perfect animal for him, but it's still going to take a bit of getting used to for me. As for Xever, being a slippery fish actually suits him. It may have been more appropriate if he mutated into an eel, but I guess that's an unlikely thing for him to come across in New York City. Everyone agrees that the Shredder was very impressive in episode 9. If you don't think so, then we're obviously thinking about different Shredders. I'm so happy we got to see the amazing Oroku Saki in action. He is every bit as cunning as I thought he would be. Anytime the turtles got an upper hand, Saki made sure they had another thing coming. Before I spend the rest of the review praising Shredder's fighting, I will mention one thing about his character that isn't sitting well with me. His evilness has been inconsistent. At the beginning of episode 8, it was like he was itching for the chance to slice Bradford up, but at the end of the episode and throughout episode 9, he barely threatened his lackeys. All he expressed was his extreme disappointment. Lucky for him that Bradford took it so seriously. It might as well have been some kind of extreme punishment. Damn this being a kids' show! I wanted more consistency with the evilness. Okay, I'm calm. On to the turtles. I know I'm not the only one who is happy about a Leo-centered episode. To be honest, it took me a while to recognize episode 8 for what it was because I stopped expecting it. However, there was something I was expecting from an episode that would focus Leo. And it goes something like this. Leo would hang on to Splinter's every word, and he would emulate Captain Ryan at every turn, only to have it backfire, so he realizes he needs to be his own person. That's exactly what didn't happen. Come on, we didn't see one measly glimpse of Leo's favorite show. Also, Leo was quite defiant. Not only did he talk back to Splinter about being that good rather than cocky, he actually tried to cross a line that Splinter forbid. I think this reflects Leo's desire to be more than he is. Instead of listening to others, he tried to do his own thing because if he succeeded, it would have proved that he was a competent leader and a worthy adversary. Unfortunately, that backfired, and Leo learned he was rushing things. Also, it seems that Leo defined being more as being bold. And who among the turtles is bold? Cough. Yeah, that would be Raph. In other words, yes, I believe Leo wants to be more like Raph. Anyone notice how Raph's words affected Leo more than Splinter's did? Leo just couldn't shake off being called weak, even when their father called him strong. I get the feeling that Leo wouldn't mind as much, anyway, if Mikey or Donnie called him weak, especially if Splinter sided against them. Speaking of Raph, he was headstrong as usual. I liked the rivalry between Raph and Leo in episode 8. This time, it didn't come from Raph's resentment about not being leader. This was a clash of personalities because Leo's compassion is the opposite of Raph's determination. Both traits are admirable, but they were bound to come to a head at some point. Of course, Leo's nobility came through in the end, but Raph raised some good points. In episode 4, Splinter emphasized the importance of victory, but in episode 8, he's saying victory isn't so important anymore. Talk about mixed messages. So, thanks, Raph, for questioning that, and for realizing that you're not the sort of guy who takes a human's life in cold blood. No pun intended. No pen intended. Yeah, that's what I meant to say. Anyway, just to mention one thing about Splinter's lesson that might clear the air for anyone who's still confused. Victory, so far, has certainly been a matter of death and life for the turtles. Yes, I know I switched that around. Deal with it. If they lost, they would die much sooner rather than later. That justifies being unfair. However, it doesn't justify being immoral, as Splinter raised his sons to be moral. Come on, it's one thing to defeat one's enemies, it's another to just mutilate and kill them simply because you can. In showing restraint, you demonstrate control. Also, there is strength in knowing how to act in certain situations. Take Xever. He is most certainly dangerous because of the lengths he's willing to go. However, he lacks flexibility because he follows only one lifestyle: ruthlessness. That's his weakness, and others, say Leo, can use it against him to, say, I don't know, turn Xever's allies against him. Splinter in these 2 episodes has been very wise, and I'm really enjoying seeing the fatherly side of him. He's neither soft nor overly strict with his sons. I was surprised that he allowed them to go topside when they were so overconfident in episode 8, but I do see what he was trying to do. When you're a parent, you do have to let your children make their own mistakes so that they'll learn. And that's exactly what Splinter did. I'll just mention one thing about Splinter that's irritating me, but it has nothing to do with his characterization. I'm really annoyed that we haven't seen Splinter in action. Okay, sure, he strikes at the turtles to teach them something about ninjutsu, but that's not cutting it. We've seen the Shredder in action. It's time to see Splinter's prowess. In both episodes, I was expecting Splinter to jump out of nowhere and rescue his sons, but that didn't happen. I mean, come on, creators, you made Splinter younger for a reason. Can you please get around to that reason sooner rather than later? Alright, everyone knows how I feel about Donnie's crush on April, so I won't repeat myself. However, you might be surprised with what I'm about to say. I have to admit, there was this one moment when I hope April's heart beat a little faster. For the most part in episode 9, Donnie's crush was really funny. I mean, we all saw Mr. O'Neill's what the face when Donnie went all, "Your daughter's really nice." However, he showed serious maturity when he promised her that he'd get her dad back. In that moment, I could see that he just wanted to do everything he could to make April happy and to end her suffering. So that's why, in that moment of maturity and kindness, he not only earned Siri's mad respect points from me, he also deserved a blush. And no, I still don't want them to get together. I'm just saying he deserves a slight leeway this one time only. Look at it this way. He completely forgot about April's dad by the time the 4 of them defeated the Krang and Shredder's henchmen, so hey, if okay, I will say this one thing. If he was super mature like he was in that moment, then I'd be like, you know what, April, who cares if he's a turtle? You'd be lucky to have this guy. But and I know he's only 15. You can't expect a lot of maturity from a 15-year-old, even if they are turtles. But I still say that as he is now, April, go for a human, please. Okay. Now that that's been said and done, I'm going to move on to April's character. Yes, she should have some training scenes by now, but that has nothing to do with her characterization. I'm just saying it's really nice that she's I shouldn't say finally, but she is treating the turtles as her friends rather than backup fighters. And she really does care for them, as we see when she takes them to Murakami's noodle place. At the same time, she's a fast thinker and she's really clever too, so I can see her being a very valuable ally in the weeks to come. Anyway, now, that's everything I have to say about episodes 8 and 9, and this has been a long review. But I just have to ask you guys the question of the week. This is focused on the Krang. We know that they came from a different dimension, Dimension X, and that the mutagen they made isn't working as it's supposed to. With that in mind, what do you think the original purpose of the mutagen is? All I know is that whatever it is, it's not a good one for humans. I mean, seriously, the Krang are not the misunderstood type of villain. I'm pretty sure they're not a good thing for humanity, seeing as everyone who willingly works for them is a nut job in one way or another. Either whether it's Dr. Falco, there we go. Whether it's Dr. Falco or Snake. My best guess is that the mutagen is meant to turn humans into weapons, because that's what I would do if I were a generic robot. However, I want to know what you guys think. So if you agree with me, let me know. Or if you have some really cool ideas of your own, again, please let me know. Thanks you so much for listening. And I'll talk to you again for my next review. Bye.